So, overall thoughts on the season here. I thought it was a solid season of television. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed at points. I thought episode 7 battles kind of killed my hype for the ultimate expectations I had for the season and the fall of Eregion. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how well Tom Bombadil was used, and I was so pleasantly surprised at how well Anatar was used, and that was the biggest key point. So to me, this season was a success. Celebrimbor and Anatar were brilliant throughout it. So my rating is an 8.9. Caleb, overall thoughts, rating?
Yeah, I feel like they might have dug themselves into a hole slightly with such a big cast. Like Game of Thrones pulled it off in the first few seasons, but I feel like there's just too many stories to tell. And, like Aaron Deere, what did he do this season? He was a great character in the first season, and he didn't do anything, really. He just kind of showed up and kind of snuck around the battle, and he was just like a side character. And I know The Stranger and Nori weren't our favorites, but they were barely in it. He was just like a 5-minute scene here and there until the finale. And Theo, I mean, we all hated Theo, but Theo was literally like wiped from the script this season, which is pretty
that
nice.
was fine.
Intentional, strategic,
but
smart.
But I still love Galadriel, Durin, and Elrond. And the Anatar, Sauron, and Celebrimbor definitely did the heavy lifting this season, which was amazing. It was peak storytelling. And Sauron definitely earned the name of the Deceiver. And R.I.P. to Celebrimbor once again. Ring the bells for him and Adar. So yeah, I mean, there were some issues. I think I like season 1 more.
Wow, okay.
Because it was like, season 1 was so good, especially the last like 3 episodes. And this had a good ending to this season too. So I have it rated at an 8.6, which is a little bit lower than, but it is above House of the Dragon season 2. Because if you want to get into that discussion, I think House of the Dragon, the episodes were just off, where the best episode was like episode 4, and then the last 4 were like let's get something else going on here, and never happened. So Rings of Power at least delivered in the end.
Straight up. Wow, there you go. All right, JD, top that. What do you think? Rating, whatever. Did it beat House of the Dragon? What do you got?
I don't know if it beat House of the Dragon. I think it did, because Sauron's the guy here, dude. Like, them doing so well with him really is what I love so much about this season. It's tough to rate because some of the side stories don't work. Like, even the whole Gandalf story didn't work for me the whole season. It wasn't interesting screen time. It moved along pretty slowly. And like other side characters or side stories, it's like Game of Thrones, for example, does a lot of side stuff, but at least it's written so well that even like conversations are just interesting. But when we go to Theo or we go to Numenor, things felt pretty slow. Gandalf didn't, there wasn't anything important going on there. It was all about the rings and Sauron and Durin and the elves. Like, that was everything. So outside of that, a lot of other stuff brought the score down overall. I think it's a step up from season 1. I think this season really pushed like the story that we're looking for forward. It felt more focused, and and I think I gave season 1 like a higher rating from before, because I was like in the 9s, right? I don't know if we remember our ratings. I think I gave it a 9 something.
I think you were a 9.1. I have it right here. You were a 8.9.
8.9. Okay, that might be reasonable. But I want to put this at like an 8.7, 8, something like that, which means season 1 is really more like an 8.5. Because I haven't even had the desire to rewatch it for some reason. It's just too drawn out and long. I kind of think this should have been a trilogy, a movie. Like, these first 2 seasons could have made a really good movie or 2. I think
that would have been sick.
And I think, if they did such a good job with Sauron. He's so climactic. But
that's an easier way to get your money back too.
Right?
The
box office.
Than having to try to get subscriptions.
Because there's a lot you can take out of this. You could have not almost done anything with Numenor yet. You could have plugged in a fast-paced story like season 3, and everything that happened could have been like drawn out and shown us what's going on there and still been important. And I don't know. There's just a lot of extra stuff. The Hornfoots, whatever the hell they're called. Gandalf's story. I mean, you didn't barely go anywhere with him. So I'm going like 8.7, I think.
Straight up. Which is, it's so funny you say that too, because I was coming in to say that I enjoyed season 2, I think a little bit more than season 1, and then I saw my season 1 rating of 8.9 and was like, oh, that should be lower, because I was thinking like 8.6 or something for this, and then I just ended up working out in my head. I was like, you know what? It's a different 8.9. I'll give it another 8.9. I can't put it worse than season 1, even though you can, and you have different takes of points. But yeah, I'm same with you. Like, I looked back thinking it should be a little lower, but I did enjoy it a little more than season 2. I think Charlie Vicker as Anatar really elevated this. Without him in season 2, it's not close to season 1. I think he really made such a massive difference, and half the screen time for the Harfoots was also another plus, and Theo. So I know those were kind of negatives as they wasted plot points that didn't really go anywhere, but I just appreciated the lack of screen time in general. So I guess that helped my overall happiness with it. But it's hard to compare to House of the Dragon, because like JD said, they have more side stuff. They didn't get a lot done in season 2.
God.
But
House
It
of
was
the
still
Dragon.
interesting.
yeah. But I would still prefer to listen to Eric talk to Rhaenyra or something way more than anything going on with the Harfoots or Theo or Numenor, any of that stuff. I'd rather get a side conversation between Aegon and a whore. Like, I don't know. So it's hard to say, but I think because of my disappointment with, I think I'm putting Rings of Power season 2 just a notch above it, just because of my disappointment as a whole, and because, like Lub said, they didn't do a good job at the penultimate finale combo.
They teased
Rings
us.
of Power did. What?
They teased us in House of the
Yeah.
Dragon.
They teased us, and you took one of the most beloved characters and you sidelined him for the entire season. Like, that's tough to get past. You took that, basically this Rings of Power season 2 just sidelining Anatar and being like, okay, we're gonna have you hallucinate for 6 episodes. Like, that alone is like, so I'll put season 2 of the Rings of Power barely above the House of the Dragon season 2. Yeah.
Same. Dude, when you end season 1 with a full-on death of someone's child, you expect death and destruction and dragons fighting probably. And then, I mean, yeah,
But
we won't get into it, but God, so disappointing.
I would rate episode 4 of Rook's Rest. I would rate that higher
than anything.
than anything in Rings of Power.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was insane. So,
That
but
episode
the season
was
as a
incredible.
whole doesn't match up.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, yeah, outside of that, though, I think I'd take these last 2 episodes of Rings higher than the next level of House of the Dragons episode of that season. Like, I really enjoyed these last 2 episodes of Rings. So, yeah. So, real quick, any expectations with season 3 you guys have? Anybody want to fire it off first? Anything?
Ooh, I'm like, I don't know. They had such a good focused story with Celebrimbor and the Rings, but now that the Rings are created, we're not going to get that. It'll be something completely different. So I'm thinking we'll get a lot of Numenor, and probably a lot of Gandalf. By the way, I also wanted to make the point that, like, Gandalf freaking stopped these mountains of rocks. He created a tornado, and it always bugs me. Like, I don't understand his powers at all. And then in Return of the King, he was fighting in that war with a stick, like hand-to-hand combat. When you should have thrown a wizard in there doing dope wizard stuff with his powers. He's an old man. I'm not picturing him fighting. I'm picturing him conjuring spells. And when you go from holding up mountains to just like hitting people with your stick in this giant war in Return of the Kings, like, I want to know his powers, and I want to see those. I would have loved to see those kind of powers during this full-on war.
He has a
I don't know how wizard, because I get it, he's getting a lot older, but it's a wizard, man. Your spells aren't getting older. If anything, you should be getting wiser and better at spells and like doing cooler shit. Like, fucking, what if he brought lightning
white
down?
now.
Dude, what if he brought lightning down on that army in Return of the King? Stuff like that, or his little tornado that he did this season. Like, stuff like that would have been sick. So
Like the ladders mounting the walls of Minas Tirith. Knock one over real quick instead of waiting for them to get on the wall and whack them with a stick. Like, yeah, I'm with you there.